What's our temperature today?
Good morning, Tim.
Good morning.
How you doing?
I'm cold. Let's see how cold I am in Celsius.
Uh-huh.
Just a second
Did
here.
you see snow last night?
Oh no, we're not going to get snow. They actually backed off of the snow. It was supposed to come in the last two
Mhm.
days, but it didn't. We're running at -5 degrees Celsius this morning. So
Wow.
think about that drop. We were in a high 70s just 2 days ago, and now we're -5 Celsius. So it's crazy, and we're
So
going to have these wild fluctuations.
I just hope that your body accommodates the changing.
I have my trusty little friend, the radiator here, and my
Mhm.
cats are curled up around it, so we're all comfortable. This is it's not like it's regular weather here, but we adjust. It's high desert, so you're going to get hot, hot, hot. You're going to get cold, 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 and I have multiple layers. That's why I'm wearing the jumper I'm wearing. How about you? How are you
Wonderful.
guys doing?
It's an evening where the election is getting declared. I mean, the results getting declared. So, like me, everybody else, I believe, has glued to the TV sets, checking on the
Oh,
changes.
what a
By the way, here the election results are really interesting. It's a 2020 match, wherein it's a neck to neck, edge to edge fight. Uh, just to let you know, it's an election in Bihar, one of the state in India here, which the results are getting out. The election commission just said that it's going to take a little while since the COVID has changed some rules. So the results might be a little bit more time. It may be very clear by the midnight today. So that's how long the entire process is going to take. But interestingly, the majority to make the government here in Bihar state is 122. Right. So the one side of the party, which is led by BJP, Narendra Modi, is actually sitting in between 118, 120, and the other side is like 115, 116 kind of. So it's like edge to edge. You don't
oh
know
wow.
which way this election will go towards. That's why I said it's like a 2020 match. But interestingly, this but today we would be talking more on the politics, the political changes, the elections. Even Tim's seen election in US out there, the presidential election. I'm sorry. Yeah. Presidential election, which recently got over, and the results are all out, or there is still the counting going on, Tim, if I'm not wrong, right?
Oh yeah, we're still picking up the last, very last of the votes, and there is not going to be a formal declaration until the 20th. It's This process is well drawn out, and the states that had problems in the past are
Mhm.
not having problems now. It's what's
Right.
funny is at the federal level, there are federal leaders who are making a lot of noise and saying there's something wrong here. And the people at the state level are saying, no, there's nothing wrong. In fact, this is the easiest and it's the best it's always run. And the problem is the federal leadership is stirring up their base. And so
Mhm.
they're keeping a very contentious environment. And they're keeping the sense. And you remember during the election, it was the federal level
Mhm.
that was saying, "You guys who are voting for us, you have every right to go down to the polling places and watch them count the votes. which was wrong. And they already had people in places. And so these people who were not allowed to watch vote counting are angry and sitting around their TVs, and they hear that this president has been elected, but it's not the 20th. And everybody is saying, calm down. And the problem is only 50% of the people in the country are saying, calm down. The other 50% are saying, this is not right. This is illegal. And it's not illegal. It's
Mm-hmm.
just the way the process is. There's a saying in the United States: government does
Right.
not grind fast, but it grinds very, very, very fine. And so we have to wait. Go ahead.
Yeah. No, we will talk in detail about that, but just wanted to let the viewers know that they might be thinking, Tim, we always talk about the business, isn't it? Why are we getting into politics? So, people out there, we will touch base. It's very important for all of us, and it's not about becoming political or discussing politics. It's not a crime though. So we will try to balance it. We will try to bring in some of our thoughts as well as the Bihar election in India, which is happening. And so we'll talk a bit about that as well. But before we start, I forgot to introduce ourselves, by the way. My name is Kumar Pushpak, and I head the team here at Ejona Services. And I'm joining from Bangalore, India. With me, Tim Jerome. He is a project management expert and a consultant, and he is joining in from Albuquerque, a city. I mean, a city in New Mexico, stuff in US there. Well, before we start this step, I want you to help us understand how different this election was from the previous, knowing the fact that the COVID impacted. So, how different? What would that be like to highlight?
Isolation, isolation. And it was strange. And anytime anything is strange for people, they feel unsafe. And it goes down to the whole process. And when we get into our business discussion part of this, um, the big part of this was mail-in ballots. And mail-in ballots are usually not a big part. We're used to standing in line and going through an electronic process. And there's always been a debate whether the electronics are good or bad, and the electronics can fail, and you can actually sneak across the internet into the electronics and track and manipulate things. This year, paper is bad. And it was really strange because it was a 180-degree turn from the groundswell messaging, and paper is bad. I actually voted with my wife from home. She's immune compromised, and so we were able to do it, and we got our ballots in 2 weeks early, and we could go onto the internet and we could say, "Oh, okay, the county manager got the ballots, everything's fine," and we had incredible confidence that everything was all right, and we can actually go online and say, "Yep, your ballot was counted." It's incredibly greater visibility now than it ever has been. I could even track my ballot through the mail if I wanted to. And there were other things that were really strange. There were events that really bothered the entire nation, like stories from other states that were validated by local people. There were stories that were validated by the White House. There were stories that were validated by local legislators, and they were all corroborated. And they pointed to a general movement that really scared all of us. So, in moving into the future, we can expect that the response from the government will either say, guys, let's lower the fears and let's do something that lowers everybody's fear, or we're going to get a response from the government that says, yes, let's create chaos and discord, and let's put on a good show. And we don't know what's going to happen in the future, whether it's going to be one way or the other. And so that's what we're looking at, and we're all wondering if this is going to be different or not. And so we're sitting on our hands until the 20th to move things forward. Now, in the meantime, there's some good things happening. There's a
Hmm.
vaccine that's 90% functional, that they found that the FDA is probably going to approve here really soon, which is a good sign. But at the same time, in my state, it was announced this morning that we have 85% of our hospital beds full, and our ICU beds are about the same way. And we can't handle more. Even with this vaccine, we're going to have problems for the next 2 or 3 years with this disease. It's not going to stop, and we think it's like
Right.
an ocean swell. We think it's going to stop here, and it's not. It's not going to stop here. It's going to stop somewhere around here, and we don't know how we're going to handle this. And we're starting to see things that are missing out of the stores again, and it's like, here we go again, and we're buckling down for another ride. I have to get my hair cut, and I'm going to have to get my hair cut before the hairdressers close again, because it's obvious they're going to close down again here before the holidays. So we're all worried, and it's being reflected in the businesses, it's being reflected in the homes, it's being reflected in the communities and everything. And the political environment, this thing that's happening in the background, is just a major reflection of this cultural response to this long drawn out thing that we call a pandemic.
Right. It's certainly not getting over anytime soon. That's what even I believe. However, I was reading a news article where Trump, I believe, yesterday mentioned that the team has is really close to announce the vaccine.
Yeah, and this is one of many vaccines that we're working on. And so this will be an early one. We don't know how much it's going to cost. We don't know who's going to get it first. We don't know what's wrong or right. But there are other things that are going on that are exciting. Um, they had 5 free shot clinics in the last month for everybody in my city. My wife and I stayed in our cars and we were in line for like 15 minutes with 3,000 people. And they processed 10,000 people before lunch. And we got free shots. Not
Wow.
even our insurance paid for it. And we went through and we got our regular flu shots. And so
Mhm.
we're doing things that are actually, we should have been doing all along. We get our shots regularly, but it's really great to get into something that has pageantry, that feels like I belong to doing something good. And so it wasn't so bad that we stood in line for 20 minutes in our cars. It was
Right.
sort of fun with a cup of coffee and a piece of cake, and just talking and watching everybody else. And it's if done right, this can be an exciting civic activity, and that's what we need. It's going to be long. It's going to be hard, and everybody knows that this
Right.
is not going to be over for a very long time.
Right. Right. Let me ask you this, Tim. I know you didn't left your TV sets while the results were getting out. It's still getting out. So, like myself, I'm talking to you, but at the corner of my screen, there is one small screen I have opened where the results I'm able to see. I am sure that you and many of others would do the same stuff. Now, I wanted to check your response when you actually got to know that Biden is ahead on the path from Trump. So, what was your response, and how did you react?
I was thinking, okay, this is different. You have to remember, I've spent 30 years in my career as a project manager, and people come to me and say, what's the color of the house? And from a project perspective,
Mhm.
I'm the person that is paid to say, look at the front of the house. It looks like it's painted white. Let me walk around and see the other sides of the house. I'm different from other people, okay? Other
Mhm.
people are saying yay. Half the people are saying yay. Half the people are saying no. I'm saying, okay, this is different. Let's measure different. And what we see different is that we see somebody who has used data and analysis and has looked at the early details and says we have a 95% confidence of being elected president. And then they say, okay, let's get things in place. The White House is not talking to us. The government is not talking to us. We need to move forward, and we see progress in action. So I'm
Mhm.
thinking, this is a person who thinks analytically and logically. I'm interested. Let's see what the results are from this. Let's see what happens from day one, which is January 20 through forward. So it's not that I'm cautiously optimistic. I'm not going to say what side I voted for. What I
Mhm.
will say is there looks like there are things that I say are good for making progress that are already in place. And I am cautiously optimistic that we're going to get rid of this chaos that creates a divisive environment. One of the worst things in the world in the United States, and everybody is talking about this, is the fact that nobody's budging. Contention. We are totally separated and we're not talking. The problem is that means half of the wisdom of this country is not being shared with the other half, and we have to bridge that real quickly. That's the strength of the United States. We've always been strong in sharing ideas and arguing, but letting other sides argue and letting other sides speak, that's the right thing to do. And that's the other thing. It's human nature. It's human nature to argue. And we need to argue, and we need to do it in such a way that we don't have things like, people in trucks driving up to ballot places. And we don't have things like people on television and YouTube saying, this person has to go to jail. No, we need to say this is an idea and this is another idea. That's the right way to do things. And let's measure these together. And it's not like human beings are wrong or right. It's that ideas are better than other ideas. And
Mhm.
that's the only way that I can say we're moving things forward, when I start seeing that. I don't care. I don't care who's in the White House. What I care is that I see an undivided nation. When I hear about the numbers that you're talking about, I see it reflected exactly in the same way the United States is happening.
True. True. No, it's you said it right, Tim. Nation has to be united if really it wants to develop. That's the basic. That's the first requirement on the table. Uh, Fortunately, unfortunately, there are times when we have seen the politics taking a different turn. But that's part of politics. I mean, let's not get into that part.
Well, but
Let's leave it
let's
for the
let's
parties out
actually, yeah, let's end this part of the discussion on this
there. Uh-huh.
thought. Okay, we're going to have problems here in the next 50 years. We're going to have problems in the next 200 years. We're going to have problems in the next 250 years. And they're going to overwhelm the tiny problems we have now. And we have to start thinking about them now. And they're not just going to threaten a state or the position of a legislator or something like that. They have the opportunity to allow our entire species free growth, or it's going to severely limit our entire species.
Mhm.
And if we don't start working together, we're going to have major problems, not just pandemic problems, okay?
Right.
That's where we are in our society, and people have been saying this for the last century, and that's what I'm seeing, and that's what I'm worried about. We have to stop our bickering over these tiny things. We need to grow up and work as adults, because it's going to take every bit of every human's capacity to think and solve problems, and a lot of money, more money than a single nation can create. We have
Mhm.
to work together, or we're not going to solve these problems that are on our plates right now. That we've been saying this for how many generations, and we're not there yet. And this is what's killing us.
Right. When you say this particular point, being right, are you talking about the ethics? Importantly,
Yeah, ethics being right.
more
I'm right and
related to
you're
the
wrong.
decisions. Yeah.
um, that's funny. And I use that word so flippantly, right? Right and wrong, right? What's right for me? And the problem is, what's right for me might not be wrong for you. My son and his wife have a mixed drink in the evening, and that's right for them, and it's not right for me. Right and wrong. What's right? What's wrong? What's right for this country? What's wrong for this country? And the problem is, we don't have a sense of this idea of right or wrong. And I keep talking to my friends and my family about this, and the closest that anybody has ever gotten to this sense of right and wrong is this idea of progress. Does this help me get my life better? Does this help me get my life worse? The pandemic is wrong. The response to the pandemic is wrong. And
Mhm.
we all agree with that, but there's nothing better to place it. Now, this is where things get really strange. Okay. What's right and wrong for your employees? What's right and wrong for you, Kumar? What's right and wrong for your company? And this is where things get really ugly, and where the philosophers say, well, hold on now, let's sort this out. And we don't want to sort it out, because there are things that your company's going to have to do. It's not necessarily right or wrong for the employees. There are things your company is going to have to do that you, Kumar, know is right or wrong for your family. And how do we make those decisions? Let me actually call a spade, okay? There are 3 steps that we go through when we actually look at building a moral compass, okay? Are the behavior that aligns us with right or wrong. Number 1, I want to do what's right because people are watching me. I want people to think I'm good. And so I
Right.
do right or wrong. Now, this isn't bad. This actually gets people in the mindset of doing right or wrong. There's a maturity that goes along, and it says, you know what? I don't care about what people think. I want to do what's right or wrong because I want to. It feels good. Okay. And that's good. That's actually means that you're progressing. And then there's another step that the philosophers say, and this is what gets really scary, okay? I want to do right or wrong, even if I don't want to do it. These are the people who actually say, they're in the movies. The old war movies where one guy stays behind so everybody can live? That's the right or wrong I'm talking about. I don't want to do this, but I'm going to do it because it's right. And that's what we call character. Okay. That's what we call having a sense that you're willing to sacrifice for something bigger than who you are. And we hold this up. Our grandparents said character is great. Our our parents said this, save your money. It builds character. Don't spend your money now. You want to spend your money now, but withhold spending, and you're going to do something that's even bigger. And building character is hard and it's not fun. I don't have the nicest ties. I don't have this year's pants and shirts. I don't have the opportunity to take walks like I usually do. Okay. It's not
Mhm.
fun, but it's something different. Okay. It's called character. And this is where we start aligning with something bigger, wrong or right. Now, the old philosophers in our society said alignment of our sense of wrong or right with the sense of nature's wrong or right, or alignment with spiritual or religious traditions, alignment with political traditions. Now, it seems that the people with a greater sense of wrong or right, where they look inside of it and they forge their own moral compass, seem to move forward with greater confidence. And the ones that I read say that as you build this, and the ones who have demonstrated this character have said, if you build this, you're going to see that your wrong or right is actually in alignment with the wrong or right of a society, of a group. We see that what our wrong or right is isolated until we start developing this and we say, oh, what's wrong or right for me is wrong or right for society, for the bigger group. There's no difference.
To clarify here, Tim, when we talk about ethics and the right and wrong, so tell me, if I is good, will I be always doing right things if I follow ethics, by the way? Or is there a contradiction?
That's the problem. What is wrong or right happens to be what we call your nature. We all know what's wrong or right. We all know that if you eat a cookie before dinner, it's going to spoil your appetite. We all know we need to brush our teeth regularly. We all know we need to exercise. We all know we have to exert patience when we work with others. Um, and we don't want to. There's overriding urges that we have. And without carefully inserting rational analysis, we confuse our urges with our sense of wrong or right. And that's where we get confused. Um, it's all right to have urges, and we're meant to have urges. And the consumer economy takes advantage of these urges. And that's all right. It's just that's part of our wiring. And we're supposed to be this way anyway. This is what has kept us alive and kept us safe. And if we're going to go into space, we're going to need to save these urges because again, this I'm talking about fight, flight, or freeze, right? This is what keeps us alive. But they can actually get in the way of having a better life. And that's where we have to sort out this moral compass stuff. And that's where we have to say wrong or right. And this can take years. And it is a lot of effort, and people don't want to go through this effort. It's much easier to be distracted and just be entertained. Um,
Right. But tell me this, uh, being right, I think it's not easy always, especially when you know the other side of the piece. How do you see this kind of circumstances?
so, and okay, here's the problem. I'm not talking about people being wrong or right. Okay. I'm not talking about people. People cannot be wrong or right. People are natural. Okay. Behaviors are wrong or right. And when I do something, what I did is going to be wrong or right. Now, people are going to look and say, you're wrong. All of a sudden, that's an emotional attack on me. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
If we can actually say, you did something wrong here, Tim, I can say, okay, let me figure this out and help me be better. If I can actually set my ego aside, I can be better. I can actually make my life better. I can make your life better. Okay? This is called argument and debate. We move from a space from people being wrong or right to
Mm-hmm.
actions being wrong or right. And then all of a sudden, people think that they're not conflicted. I hate to bring this back, but in politics, if I say I'm on this side of the debate, if that side of the debate loses, I'm a loser. And nobody wants to be a loser. If align myself with this side of the debate, and I'm a winner, and everybody wants to be a winner. And if you're playing this game, you're either a winner or a loser, and you're going to do anything to win. And this is the problem. If you continue this game, you're going to keep people divided, and you're going to have a win-lose scenario. And for every winner, there has to be a loser. And that's the game that's being played right now on our national and international stages. Now, if you can stop playing that game, then you can get into a situation where you can say, okay, let's talk about this. This was not right. This did not work. Let's figure out together. Now, it's really strange, okay? One of the most contentious part of one party has been working with the incumbent president for over 30 years, and they've done some wonderful things in legislature. And we're saying that cross-party, there's an opportunity. And we're
Mm-hmm.
all a little bit hopeful for that. There's also some other things that say within the parties, there's confusion and doubt. And we have to figure out, can we actually move beyond the space of people being wrong or right and move to a place where we say actions and decisions are wrong or right, and let's figure out how to do a better thing. And that is the opportunity that I see. That's why I'm saying we're cautiously optimistic, because we're moving from the space of I'm right and you're wrong to this idea has merit, and let's agree how much merit this idea has, and then we'll all support it. With that mindset, you can work as a group. Now, let's bring this into your business.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, let's. I mean,
in,
that's
in,
where
inside of a company, you have
comes in.
two
Yeah.
contentious groups, and they both have great ideas, and they both have a lot of emotional energy behind their decisions. And if you can actually get them to think as a single unit, you have a driving force. It's a delicate balance between the two. We're getting back to what we've been talking about the last few weeks, creating that crucible, that place that where we're not just creating iron, we're creating steel. We have that pressure that is intense with heat, and we have the ability to create something that is wonderful. But the problem is it has to be managed very carefully. You can't have people making other people wrong. You have to have rules. You have to have ground rules and guidelines. Here's how we're going to meet. Here's how we're going to discuss. Everybody has a voice. Nobody is wrong. And it's long and it's complicated and nobody likes to do it. Everybody wants to move. But a lot of these decisions, especially as they're complex,
Mm-hmm.
these decisions are going to be, you're going to take one step back, and 2 steps forward and then 3 steps back and 1 step forward. And what was wrong or right, for a decision last week, you may have more information and it's wrong or right here. And workers don't see the strategy, and leaders don't see the everyday work. And the problem is, that's where the crucible is. And if you don't manage that crucible well, it's a pressure cooker that can actually get really out of hand very quickly. That's the job of a leader, to create the appropriate pressure and the appropriate temperature so you have innovation without things exploding and putting all your dinner on the walls and ceilings instead of plates.
Right. So these part that you just spoke about, being a good leader, right? I mean, a direct leader can actually really shape up the country in a better way. But we need to all work together to move anything beyond what is it today as of. Do you see the current leadership uh, can actually do that?
I don't know. I read the opinions in the news. I go over to my AP website. I go over to BBC. I go over to CNN. I go over to Fox, and I look at the local news. And there are voices all over the map, and they're in 3 places. We have to get rid of the old leadership. We have to get back to the old leadership, and we have to meet in the middle, and we have to act as a united front. And it's almost split into 3 exact parts, and it's very interesting. I think this is not something we can answer overnight. And it's the same thing in business and companies. We have to create this opportunity to have this very conversation. And as leaders, we have to understand that people are thinking about this day and night, and it's going to get in the way of work. In the middle of profit and loss, in the middle of trying to get more business and trying to grow our business and trying to stabilize and trying to keep our people employed and bring more people in. This is the backdrop that's going to be occurring. And so as a leader, we have to have a little bit of flexibility and allow our people to be angry and frustrated and tired and bored, and have these conversations. When we went through 9/11, when I was in consulting, there were times when my management said, okay, we're not going to get anything done. Things are too goofy. You're worried about your friends out in New York, I know, and there's no communication coming in. Let's take a break. Let's go out in the patio and let's just watch the birds and put on some music, and I'll buy some hamburger and we'll eat a nice little lunch together, and let's just decompress. And I see an opportunity for this too. Now, you're in a little bit of a hard situation, Kamar, because you don't have a patio that you all can go to. And this is where it's going to take a little bit of innovation. What you can do is, when you make something, have a celebration. And when you hit a goal or an objective, or you make a win, make sure everybody in the group is contributing to the win, and celebrate that, and do the things that don't cost. These are the things that actually make a leader. Create an environment that's inclusive, that doesn't disenfranchise people. That's what a leader can do. And I'm not talking about leaders as CEOs. I'm talking about leaders who are every part of the company. A janitor can be a leader. A person in the lunchroom can be a leader. It's creating an environment where everybody feels they're contributing to making things better. It's the little thank yous.
Right.
It's the providing and easing, making it easy to share information back and forth. It's creating that environment that makes it easy to get work done and get back to work and relax. That's basically the best thing we can do right now. And then again, make fun of the things that are just silly happening, because there's a lot of silliness going on right now. It's entertaining.
Mhm. True. No, I just wanted to bring this discussion a little bit towards the Bihar election in India here. I see a beautiful comment here. So you know the difference, how different our democracy and elections are, right? So like you have two-party system, we have a multi party system. So
You guys are doing it right. You guys you guys are messy and complicated, and it's wonderful because everybody gets a vote. Everybody participates, and it's harder and it's much more complex. We have two voices. I don't know if
Mhm.
two voices is enough for all of the ideas that humanity has. And yes, you guys are wonderfully messy. You're doing things the way humans should do it. It's
Yeah.
great. Go on, go
So,
on.
so diversity, we have a lot of diversities, by the way. So there are multiple parties in India, multi-party system, right? So each party has kind of have a campaign, a camp basically, like a Congress camp and a BJP camp. So there are multi-partners within the BJP camp. Like BJP camp has three, four different parties. Similar camp, there are three, four different parties altogether. So they make one group, right? One group, and they're fighting it. So now, interestingly, within the BJP group, BJP has the maximum number of seats. So far, the results I was just looking at, right? They have the maximum number of seats. The other side of the camp, there is a party called RJD. Uh, they have the maximum number of seats. Now, somebody actually commented in the box here saying that, Kumar, why not BJP and RJT come together and make a strong government? You see, it's a very logical thought.
And you know what? Let me compare that to something
I
that happened. I
yeah.
want to compare that to something that happened in the 1980s through the 1990s. Okay?
Mhm.
A lot of people don't know this, but IT as an organization inside business did not exist before the early 1990s. It was an outgrowth of finance.
Mhm.
Finance had direct access to money. And so finance actually was able to invest in technology and bring technology inside of companies so that finance could work better. Well, finance was saying technology is good, 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 good. And then all of a sudden, IT became its own entity. And you
Mhm.
have, along with the CFO, you now have a CIO and a CTO, a chief information officer and a chief technology officer. And now all of a sudden finance says, let's hold on. We can't spend too much money too quickly. And
Mhm.
this is the growth of everything that's human beings. And what you're explaining is perfectly natural. It's good for humans to do this. It means you're growing. It means that you have ideas and innovation in more unique areas of your business, but you're going to create argument and debate. And it's the same thing with the different camps, the different campaigns, and the different parties within this. It gets really complicated and messy. And a CFO can no longer say, let's buy this, let's not buy this. They have to say, okay, CIO and CTO, let's all get together and figure this out together. And this is the problem we had. And um, In some areas of business, we had chief financial officers figure out, and they said, you're a cost center, technology, IT. You're spending too much money and you don't make money for the company. Therefore, I'm allowed to cut your budget. And this is what happened in the late 1990s and early 2000s. And technology and investment technology took a huge dip. And now we can't live without investment in technology because all of a sudden we learned this theory called value chain. And
Mhm.
technology and IT says, okay, look, finance, if you cut me, you're cutting my CEO's bonus for the end of the year. And so we have this debate going back and forth and back and forth. And if you take it personal and if you bring it down to the personal level, emotions are going to get in the way and people are going to get stuck and we're going to have that contention. And that's what we're talking about. And you're right, it's reflected in politics and it's beautiful. But when it doesn't budge, when it gets mired down and people don't have this sense that there is a group wrong or right as well as an individual wrong or right, and they don't necessarily have to be different. That's where you have growth and maturity inside of a company and inside of a nation. I really must say that there isn't a lot of difference between politics discussions and business discussions because they have one commonality. It's people. People are people. You're going to have people that have conflict and you have argument, and you have people that are stuck because they take arguments personally and emotions get in the way of good decisions.
Right, right. But this seems to be optimistic thought, which talks about like two of the parties has been voted majorly. Why don't they come together, though they are the completely opponent of each other? They are opponent. But is it possible that they two come together and form the government and run it so that it's more beneficial to people out there? It's a good thought. I don't know when we'll be able to see this happen, but yeah, let's hope for the best. Coming back to the discussion that we were happening regarding the US election out there. Now, you sounded like you are more focused on the relationships instead of getting the work done. Is that right?
Well, we can't do that with COVID, can we? That's the problem. If you take too long time in developing relationships, the disease is going to get worse and worse and worse and worse. And there are times when you have to say, you know, the relationships are important and the decision is important, and we have to work together. We have to set things aside, and this is where we are. A lot of the major decisions makers and the people who think forward, um, in my camp, right, are saying that this has to go hand in hand. The mending of the country. And this is the beautiful thing, the mending of a group can be the process of solving the big problems. It, there can be a driver. It's movies in science fiction, right? You have
Mhm.
two you have two countries who are almost at war until the aliens come and then the people come together. You have the zombie apocalypse movie where you have everybody who won't work together until the zombies come, and everybody pull together. And this makes for a great movie. It makes for a great book, right? This is
Right.
this is the Upanishads. This is all great literature. This is Joseph Campbell stuff we're talking about here. This is human behavior. We use these things that are outside of us, that are threatening, everybody as a group, when we can use this as a motivator to actually forge a united front. It's just that we have not had anything big. Now, there's a lot of hope, okay?
Hmm.
What we're having now is nature and society saying, okay, you're going to have big problems here in a few years. Let's have you try these smaller problems and see if you can overcome them. And that's the beautiful thing in society. Once you conquer things now, there's always a bigger problem. And so if you look at today's problems as a practice ground for tomorrow's bigger problems, you can be better prepared. And that's for societies. That's also for individuals. I'm going to have problems in 5 or 10 years. I'm going to have health problems. I know it. I'm getting older. But if I step up to the small problems I have now and take care of those small problems, I'm going to be in a better position to
Hmm.
handle those big problems. And that's the way it is for corporations. That's the way it is for nations. And that's the way it is for individuals.
I see what you're saying. So it's more of a relationship. If you're able to make it, make it. Otherwise, don't waste your time. Stick to the jobs that is required to be done, isn't it? That's what you're saying.
You know, I hate to say that, but yes, there are things in motion now that we cannot stop and we cannot ignore, and we have to work together. And by working together, we can make things better. That's the whole
Yeah.
thing.
Otherwise, if you keep on focusing, establishing relationship, become very good, good, good. I mean, time will pass
And
off.
and in 20 years, we're going to look back and we say so much time, so much money, and so much effort was wasted on playing this game of me versus you, of winning versus losing. Let's go ahead and focus on actually everybody moving forward. So when the real big problems come, we know how to work together, and we have a playbook that tells us that we have a reasonable chance of overcoming this. We just found out that there's a satellite out there that has so much raw material. We're talking about quadrillions of dollars in value. And it's out there. We can't get there today. But if we were to work together, think about that. Okay? This is
Hmm.
the thing that we need to be focusing on. It's not focusing in on our little, playing on a mud ball type of thing. We need to be focusing on bigger and bigger and bigger things. This is what humans are good at. That's what's exciting for me, and that's why I'm optimistic. Yeah, sure. The United States was silly in the last 3 or 4 years when we put a convertible on top of a rocket and shot it into space. But wasn't it a beautiful statement? And knowing that there's something out there that's intensely valuable and an opportunity for humanity to grow beyond just the chance that this planet may last for the next few billion years. This is what hope is built on.
Let me ask you this question. Out of all the presidents so far, who is the best that you actually vouch for?
Oh boy. You know, the guys who stepped up and said, nobody else is going to do this,
Hmm.
and I'll have to do this. You know who I like? Eleanor Roosevelt. Okay, FDR was hard. He had a hard job. Hubert Humphrey did a lot of things that made it very difficult for FDR to come in, and FDR had to do a lot of things. And they talk about FDR here in this country a lot right now because of the issues we have We have a pandemic. They had Spanish flu. We
Mhm.
we have strife. They had strife. We have economics collapse. They had economic collapse back then. We have one government party that is making messes, and we have to come in and put some order so we can take action moving forward. Different management styles, different leadership styles, and we have to be successful and make a successful transition. And I think FDR, of all the other presidents, had the best results, and he did it at a sacrifice. And so did Lincoln. Lincoln had the same thing. He had a great divided country, and he had a hard time of it. The guys who did the really big sacrifices, Eisenhower. Eisenhower was hard because he was so different than the other presidents around him before and after. And I really respect the man because he was used to being in charge of the military, and he had to change totally his leadership style when he went into becoming a president. And even speech writing,
Mhm.
Eisenhower had to fully understand what he was saying in front of the public, where the presidents before him and after him had speech writers, and they trusted their speech writers. It's not that Eisenhower didn't trust them, it's the way his mind thought, and he had to overcome that. I really respect Teddy Roosevelt too, because he was in a position, he had to go from business, which is cut and dried profit and loss, into politics, which says we can't play win or lose. We can't play budgets here. We have to negotiate, and we can't be, the top dog who wins the hill. These
Mhm.
people who actually did the great sacrifice were the ones that I say were the great leaders, the ones who had addressed great change, the ones who are stuck in their old mindsets. I One of the rules I have for myself, I have a set of laws that seem to govern my life, and one of these laws say, whatever worked last week doesn't work this week. I'm constantly reinventing my approach to life, and I have to do that. And the leaders who actually demonstrate, I have to constantly look for feedback from the people around me. I have to constantly
Mhm.
look for reinforcement that I'm going in the right direction. It's not that I doubt myself, I want to do better. And the leaders I mentioned seem, from a historical standpoint. Now, in 5 or 10 years, probably you and I can have a discussion on this. There are too many things going on. I don't know. It's messy. The behavior of the decisions coming out of the White House in Washington, D.C. for the last 3.5 years, you and I can comment on. We can have our opinions. And as we get further and further away, we can actually find out what was really going on. We can say, okay, that's right, that's wrong. That should have happened here. That should have happened there. But right now, I'm not gonna
Right. More
I'm not
important
gonna
for
put those people in a position.
Yeah. What is more important in the whole perspective here for any leader, maybe the country leader or a company leader? It's very important that you hear out the voice. If it's a company, hear out the voice of your employees, your clients.
Yes,
If it's
yes,
a country, hear out the voice of your people out there, and then act. You see, if you act, I believe things you automatically become a good leader
and
in your
and
own
and
way.
again and again, let's actually think about this from a relationship with your clients. Um, would you rather have a relationship where you don't talk to your client and you have positions that are not going to change? Or would you rather work with a client that you can call up and say, okay, something's wrong here. Can you help me figure this out so we can make this easier for us? And if both your client and you can have that relationship, you're going to learn and grow. They're going to learn and grow. Their company's going to benefit from it. Your company's going to benefit from it. This is where having a cup of coffee is probably better than having an argument. And if you can create an environment with your clients that way, you can create an environment where you have a cup of coffee with your employees this way. You can actually learn a bit and things can get better. This is what we're talking about today. It's breaking down this us versus them, me versus you. It's creating not fences, not boundaries, and moving those boundaries so I have more property than you. It's getting rid of the fences and boundaries so that we can play together and we can play big games, we can play complex games. We have something called co-opetition where we're competitors and we can work together, which is interesting. We'll talk about that in future weeks. It's exciting. This is where markets are open. This is not just, this is not just, this is not just winning and losing. This is where you can actually work with your competitors and you can open up entire markets together.
Right.
This is where things get exciting.
Wonderful, Tim. All right, our time, 60 minutes has gone, but good discussion we had. I hope that the new government, maybe in the U.S. or the Bihar state that we're going to form coming days, uh, as we said, should work with ethics, should listen to the voice of the people, and act.
And in return, the
I mean,
people should do the
and
same.
that it will not, yeah, it will not be any more a question of a good or a bad. I think it's just the work that needs to be done and just do it. I mean, that's why we form a government. That's why we form a firm, a company, right? To do a
And
job.
and
Let's do
and
that.
let's agree, this is not just leaders. We're talking about every single leader. The leader with her child who wears a mask when they go to the store. The
Right.
leader who is making sure that we're 6 feet away from everybody and they wash their hands or they use disinfectant when they get back to the car. And the leader that says, oh, okay, I don't want to stay in, but this is one of those COVID weeks and we're all going to stay in and we're going to put up with it. And that's being a leader too. And it it's as it is in the real world, quote unquote real world. It is both in government and it's in business too. We're talking about something that is not just one area of our lives.
Right. No, absolutely. So we wish the new government a good luck. Should work it the way it has to work, and we look forward to that. So
Yes.
thank you so much, Tim, for your time. I really appreciate. I see the morning out there. I hope the sun you are able to see some sun. You
Oh yeah.
get some.
Oh yeah,
You know.
it's already coming in my back door. We'll be enjoying it today. Me and my pets and my children and I will have a great dinner here. Enjoy yourself as well, and we'll continue this discussion. I'm looking forward to talking to you and Mark more about the emotional and the engagement component of this discussion for this coming Thursday as well.
Yeah. So we'll come in live with Mark again, and we'll discuss that. The topic, something that we left in between last Thursday, we'll carry forward that.
That's great.
Yeah. Thank you so much, people, for listening us. Wish you a good day and a good night, and talk to you soon. Take care.
Thanks again, everyone.